story behind the Soul Reaver series was pretty convoluted before it even began. The game takes place a few thousand years after Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, which was a PlayStation RPG that came out several years ago in the same world as the Soul Reaver series. Soul Reaver places you in the role of Raziel. You're a vampiric lieutenant in the service of Kain, who is the protagonist, the namesake of the original game. You have a grudge to bear against Kain. In the first game, he tore off your wings. You had evolved wings, new abilities before the master, and he tore off your wings and had you thrown into an abyss that is, generally not very good for vampires. So years later, you woke up in this ruined blue form, without a jaw, without pants, or anything like that, and you had the ability suddenly to devour souls of vampires or humans or what have you, instead of sucking blood. So luckily you don't have to know the complete backstory of the Soul Reaver series in order to enjoy Soul Reaver 2. The game alludes to past events throughout its length. There's a frequent, great-looking in-game story sequences and CG cinemas that kind of bring you up to speed on past events, bring you up to speed on current events, and anything that they leave out. There's a text-based timeline that you can read to kind of fill in some of the necessary gaps.
Raziel, Redeemer and Destroyer, Pawn and Messiah. Welcome, time-span soul. Welcome to your destiny.
Since story is such an important element of Soul Reaver 2, it's really no big surprise that sound is very important to it as well. And it is one of the best sounding games ever made. The voice work is done by such notable voice actors as Michael Bell, Tony Jay, and Simon Templeman, who reprised their roles as Raziel, the Elder God, and Kain. They're also joined by the actor who played Odo on Deep Space Nine, who plays a character who's kind of both new and old to the series at the same time. The music in the game and the sound effects are also really impressive as well. The soundtrack is it's up there with a Danny Elfman film score. It's so good, and the sound effects noticeably differ depending on the dimensions of the room that you're in. If you're walking along in a small hallway, your footsteps will make kind of a small echoey noise. You walk into a larger one, and you can just hear the sound open up. It's a really great effect.
As I neared the stronghold's inner sanctum, a strange sensation crept over me. An indescribable feeling of displacement, a sense of vertigo, as reality itself appeared to warp and bend around me.
As complicated as the storyline might sound, it's really compelling, and it pushes you forward to unlock new areas and to find out the answers to the questions that the game has. So you will jump, climb, move blocks, solve puzzles, similar to how Lara Croft would. But unlike Lara, you have these magical and vampiric abilities, such as the ability to glide along on your tattered little wings, or to shift into the spectral realm, which is a kind of a distorted dimension where spirits dwell. And whenever you take too much damage, you are automatically shifted into the spectral realm, so you can collect more souls and come back, or else you can shift there yourself because you want to bypass an obstacle in the material plane. You also, in the spectral realm, you have the nifty little ability to pass through certain barriers like gates, which is an ability that you picked up during the original Soul Reaver.
Away from the influence of Mobius's cursed staff, I could feel the strength of the Soul Reaver slowly returning.
The combat in Soul Reaver 2 is different from the original as well. You can now summon the Soul Reaver at any time, as opposed to only when you're at full health. There's some consequences to that, though. The Soul Reaver now sucks the life energy of your fallen opponents completely, leaving nothing for you if you summoned it. And also, if you use it too much, it starts to devour your own soul energy as well. So it's a really powerful weapon that you only use when you really need it. Otherwise, you'll use just hand-to-hand combat on enemies, or you might use weapons such as axes and spears and things like that, so that after you defeat them, you can power back up with their soul energy. Soul Reaver 2 is also really great to look at as well. At first it looks kind of like a high-resolution version of the original, but the more time you spend with it, you'll notice neat little effects, such as each environment looks noticeably different, and it's each one's populated by different creatures, like frogs in the swamp, there are rats in the temple and the abbey, and this kind of contributes to bring each environment to life. The game's lighting effects and water effects are also really stunning, and the elaborate architecture that you saw in the first Soul Reaver is also present in Soul Reaver 2. It's true that the game probably isn't as impressive visually on the PlayStation 2 as the original was on the PlayStation, and it's also probably true that it doesn't take advantage of the hardware quite as fully as some other games have so far. But the game actually has a near perfect game camera, which is a complete rarity, and something that we've probably only seen maybe once or twice outside of Banjo-Kazooie. So that really helps to make up for quite a bit. Soul Reaver 2 is a bit shorter than the original game. It takes about 12 to 14 hours to complete, as opposed to Soul Reaver's 18 to 20. There are some DVD-style extras, such as voice work outtakes, behind the scenes, making of sort of segments, and character art. But it doesn't quite fully make up for the game's shorter length. Soul Reaver 2 is a really good sequel. It's a better game than the original in a lot of ways. The combat is more involved. The puzzles have a lot more variety. They're a lot more fun, but it's over just a little too quickly. But it is a good game. It does have a very compelling storyline, if not completely satisfying. And fans that go into it knowing these sort of things shouldn't be disappointed.